Welcome, everyone. Man, hey, everybody. Wednesday night live here in the ASP Unlimited app, and I am glad you're here. We are doing this one with a broader reach tonight because we're putting it on the main ASP YouTube channel as well. And I want to just say, for those of you who are watching on YouTube, man, this is important stuff. And so we wanted to really give this one a broad audience. But recognize we literally do one of these every single Wednesday night in the ASP Unlimited app. Take these deep dives, talk about stuff in a more relaxed environment and add some more depth. So join us in the ASP Unlimited app, guys. It's literally the coolest thing ever. And I'm also going to say, we'll mention this a time or two for people who come in to see, but if the way it works is there's so many people watching on YouTube and so many comments that come in fast and furious, we really can't keep up with them, okay? The only way we're going to see your comments is if you super chat. So if you donate a couple bucks, and here's what we do with that. We donate that money to charity, okay? So we're not doing this to, scrape some extra dollars to ourselves. We donate it to charity. And I thought tonight, what an opportunity for us here at Thanksgiving to benefit those who have less. And so we are going to donate this to the Flint Hills Foster Teen Camps to encourage and help these kids who are abused and abandoned, who have such little hope at life, and maybe give thanks for the fact that we're not in their shoes. So if you want your comment to get read, I'm just sorry, guys, on YouTube. That's just the way it is. As always, in the ASP Unlimited app, we will definitely say hi and keep on those folks. Neil, who are you seeing in the app so far tonight?
Well, so far in the app, I've got Kathy is here and Andrea's here. We've got Jamie over there. Kara's there. Hey, Kara, how are you? Troy's in the app and Kenneth is in the app, and so is Aaron. So we've got a good bunch coming in here and more comments coming in kind of fast and furious over there too. So that's kind of cool. So pretty excited to see folks show up on both sides of the streaming platforms here tonight.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Welcome, everybody. So one of the things you're going to see is so I can read comments and stuff, I'm going to put on my glasses because old age bug gets us all. We have the big team here tonight. We have everybody. So of course, you guys are familiar on my left with Neil. Neil, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Had a fun day. We're getting ready for Thanksgiving and going to have a whole crew here tomorrow. So wish us luck and maybe pray for us.
Oh, yeah, boy. Especially with the weather you guys have out there, huh?
It's not so bad. A little bit of snow. It's supposed to be snowy this time of year. So I haven't had to scoop yet, so I'll take that.
You're about to.
Yeah.
And we have the boss lady. We have our CEO, our Chief Executive Officer, Stephanie. Steph, how are you tonight?
I am doing great. I'm excited to have a busy weekend of being thankful and celebrating. And in the spirit of being thankful, I'm sure grateful you guys are all here tonight. I think this is an important topic to discuss. And we've got a lot of different things to talk about it. So join us, add your stuff in the comments. We'll try to follow as best we can.
Yeah, no kidding. And our favorite former Fed, Mike Williver. How are you, fine sir?
I'm good. And per our earlier conversation, I'll just try not to say anything to get us demonetized. That's my focus for the rest of the evening.
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
That is going to happen. We've already got in here a brand new member, Imagined Mountains 2311. Welcome, my friend.
Nice.
And thank you for that. Thank you for that support. I mean, the YouTube algorithms are so weird, man. I really appreciate that. We've got some more coming, but I also want to introduce you to a super sticker from William Shermer-Horn. Thanks, my friend, for donating to the foster kids. We have one that you don't get to see here on the main channel often. Obviously, if you come over to Active Self Protection Extra, our second YouTube channel, you will see her there every week where her voice is so incredibly important. And I'm grateful that she's willing to share her incredible expertise, is the inestimable Carrie Dudenhofer. How are you, dude?
I'm doing very well, Mr. John. Thanks for having me tonight. It's awesome to be here. What an awesome group of people.
If you don't know her, I would say, Carrie, I don't think it's too far to say you are one of the most active and experienced expert witnesses in use of force in America.
It's possible. It's very possible.
I don't think anybody's handling the caseload that you're handling.
Yeah, thankfully, 2 of them dissolved this week. So it's been a good week here. Feels good. Really
positive
good.
outcomes for clients that should have dissolved long ago.
Amen.
And here's the thing, man. Carrie gets to see some stuff that will blow your mind, and we get to run stuff across each other. She is one of the ones that I will ping on cases. I'll call and say, Carrie, I need some help looking over this. Would you look over this discovery with me and let me know what your thoughts are? And she has been excellent at that. So thank you, Carrie, for being here, because if you hopefully you watched it earlier, certainly in the ASP Unlimited app, we sent a link out to everybody and said, hey, watch this a little bit, but we're going to show you the first couple minutes of it if you're unfamiliar with it. And this is a serious one, guys. I'm not going to show you the whole thing now. There's about an hour or an hour and 10 minutes of badge cams that is out there. Before I do that, I do want to shout out, he's not on camera, but he is helping us off camera, Chris Bean, who is the co-host and the co-leader of our instructor certification, Christopher Bean. And Chris is the owner of Tactical Advantage and one of the premier firearms instructors in America. In fact, that guy thinks more deeply about the mechanics and the human performance factors involved in defensive gunfights of anybody I know. Like I'll call him and I'll be like, slow down, Turbo. I can't keep up with how smart you are.
Let's be fair though. While he's not on camera, can I just say he's the second best shooter on the team? While he's not here.
Ouch.
That's absolutely not true.
Challenge, Chris.
That's absolutely.
I think you have to now tell. You have to set up a shooting challenge that Neil will utterly fail at.
Oh, he already has, and I failed it multiple times. So, no, the other thing about Chris, and Chris is, of course, he's one of my best friends too, and he travels the country with me to do the ASP Skill Summit. That's we just wrapped up this year, getting ready to go again next year, and so. We probably should have had him on here too tonight, but anyway, he's watching and I wanted to give him a shout out.
Well, listen, behind the scenes, if somebody wants to shoot Chris an invite to the studio and invite him in to share some insight, I'd be down. Like that would be a thing. In fact, I have a good question for him. So let's shoot him an invite, see if he's willing to join. So I'm going to show you guys the first couple minutes. And if you haven't seen it, what happened is this is in Las Vegas, and we have seen, I'm going to preface this a little bit, okay? So I'm playing point guard tonight, all right? So I'm going to pass to our various hosts, our various experts tonight, and I'm going to be the point guard. And what we've seen a real rise in road rage over the last maybe 2 years or so in the United States. I mean, I don't know what you guys think. I feel like we've seen so dang much of it. It's been insane. And in particular, we had one that has made the national news out of Vegas because officers showed up right afterwards, and because of the hugely negative consequences. Now, I'm going to say this one, the badge cams have been released by Las Vegas Metro PD. We had one literally almost identical to this in Phoenix the night before last. Literally, mom, dad, a child dead. In that one. And again, very similar stuff based on road rage that started as I'm pissed off at you because you don't drive the way that I think you should, or you offended me in traffic. So in this case, we didn't see the incident caught on video that's been released, at least. I don't know if they have that section of the freeway under surveillance. But immediately afterwards, there happened to be a Las Vegas Metro officer that came by just a little while after it stopped. So you're going to see some of it. And then we're going to talk about what the badge cams mean and how insane the road rage was in this particular case as a case study of why this is the busiest weekend of the year on the road, y'all. People are driving tomorrow, some today, but many tomorrow to see loved ones, and then driving home over the weekend. And this is a stern reminder to you of how much it matters to keep your cool as a self-defender and not get into these situations. So this officer just happened to drive by. In fact, he says in the middle of it, we're not going to get quite that far in it, but he says in it, I was thinking about just going because I knew there was going to be some stadies that would come by. And then I just thought, oh man, I better stop, because he just thought it was a wreck. He just thought it was a car wreck at first. And then he gets out and this happens. So Joe, why don't you play it and let's watch the first couple minutes.
Yeah, you can kill him. Officer,
dead? Why?
I shot at him, bro. I
You
didn't know.
shot at him?
I didn't know I was fucking kid in the back. And I choked him.
Roll medical.
I fucking
Come over, unit. Well, I don't know what's going on. And people are saying somebody shot. One girl wants to arrest him. Log some plates. One is going to be 474 Tom 52. One is King, correction, George King 56, Baker 1 Nevada. I'll get you more in a minute. So I don't know what's going on. But,
I'm telling you the truth. We were road raging. He came up around the side, like on the merge, you know, where the... What's the one that takes you northbound, eastbound over there?
where's he going at right now?
It's in the car, on the passenger side. It's on
Come over here. I gotta figure everything out.
Yeah, no, it's 100%.
What happened?
I shot at him, dude.
Okay.
I didn't even know you had a kid in the car and stuff.
Like it would have been okay if there wasn't a kid in the car.
Right, right. We'll
Right.
talk about it. We'll get there. Let's keep on trucking. I want to watch it for a couple minutes and see what happens, Joe.
Well, I got an ambulance coming. Does anybody else have any weapons?
So this is blacked out by Las Vegas Metro PD because of the inside of the car. You have a minor in there.
Central. There's a kid shot in the back seat. Notified supervisors.
An 11-year-old, mind you, shot in the back seat. And that's the 11-year-old stepdad who was in the front seat.
Do you have the ID? Okay. Just
I'm going to school.
Take a minute when you get a chance. I'll need your ID. I'm so sorry, okay? We'll get this all taken care of. Which car is that guy's car? This one? Okay.
Yeah.
Did you guys see this?
Yeah.
Okay, just
Watch the whole
hang
thing.
tight. We got a lot of stuff going on. I got tons of people coming.
Okay.
It's going to be a minute, but just be patient.
Is this necessary? One shooting.
No, he's going to go to jail for murder. Okay. We got a serious, very serious thing here. Let's not go by this car anymore. I know that's your son, but let's leave this just like it is. Let's leave it like it is. Whose car is this? Do you mind having a seat in your car with him and just chilling?
In my car.
No, okay. Okay.
Get the fuck out of here.
No, he has to stay. He's a witness. Shut your mouth, sir. I understand you're upset. I can't even imagine what this will.
So they blocked out some personal information here, which is why there's no audio.
But you don't have to be in your car, but just let's realize he's in distress. So everybody has to stay here until investigation's done. I need more units because I can't not watch everybody at the same time. I can't put too much into any one thing until I got more. But we'll get everybody interviewed. I really appreciate you guys' patience because your statement will be critical. Let's just hang out for a second. Once my partner gets here, then I'll start getting some basic preliminary stuff.
Okay, let's call it there, Joe. That's at least enough. We can start to see kind of what happened when the officer shows up. There's, like I say, it's about an hour more. We posted it in the app for all of the people in the app a little bit earlier. We did have another new member. I'm really grateful. Thank you so much. And again, for everybody who's watching, missed the comments 3811. Thank you so much. And we had another super chat too. Nigel Faragay, thanks to you, I now avoid all possible road rage. Thank you, Nigel. And that's awesome. £2, which is like $2.50. Remember, anything you give tonight, if it's on YouTube, that's the only way we're going to see your comments. And all of that's going to be given to the Flint Hills Foster Teen Camps as a Thanksgiving gift. So thank you so much to everybody who donates. And if you go on this officer, and I know everybody on the panel has watched, those badge cams, he goes on to talk to the perpetrator again. He goes on to talk to the witnesses, and here the witnesses didn't even know there was a shooting. The witnesses saw the road rage that had gone on for a couple of miles. Apparently the shooter, the non-shooter, the other guy with the kid in the car, had come up behind him or on him at a merge, at an on-ramp, and they had gotten into an altercation where they didn't like how they were merging together, and then they went back and forth on each other, like I guess around the emergency lanes and on the shoulder a couple of times, back and forth. And then at one point you heard the young man in the car. He just walks up to the cop and says, "I shot him." And he pulled a gun out, put it out the passenger side. He's in the driver's seat. So he was on the left, pulls a gun out. And from what I can gather, purposefully shot into the back seat of the car, shot into the rear window. I would guess as a means of punishment. I would guess to say, "Aha, sucker, what are you doing now?" Which without anything else would be aggravated assault. Without anything else, there is an aggravated assault that'll get you sent to prison for a decade. Okay. But unbeknownst to him, he said, "I didn't know there was a kid in the car. I didn't know he had a kid in the car." And he shot and killed an 11-year-old child and admitted to that on the badge cam first thing. Just first thing he did was admit to that. And so I want to talk through several of these things. I'm going to start with our favorite former Fed, Mike. I mean, this officer, he even says, he's like, "Man, I wasn't even involved in this. I've got something to do all the way across town. I just happened to come across this as I'm like driving to my destination and happened to be the first one there." Pulls over to just be like, "Okay, gosh darn it. All right, I'll pull over to kind of help until the stadies show up," and is in the middle of this. And I mean, golly. And that dude, Mike, he passed out calm like it was a superpower, man.
Yeah, like he was handing out Gatorades after a soccer game. You know, a couple quick housekeeping points on the law enforcement side. First thing, this is a great example of how you think you're showing up to one thing, but you're showing up to a very different thing than you think you're showing up to. I talk about changing gears quickly. John likes to say, as an officer or a deputy or a trooper, treat every stop, every call like it's a training iteration. And chances are you won't go wrong because you're going to be looking for the unexpected. You're going to be thinking, well, what is this really? Let me use all five senses to figure out what I'm looking at. And then he pulls up to what he thinks is a pretty bad fender bender on the freeway. All of a sudden, people are talking about, he's got to process all this information very, very quickly. Like, what? I'm sorry? The guy's yelling, my kid is dead. The other guy's putting his hands behind his back. This is all, he has to figure this out in a hurry. The only criticism I have of the officer, honestly, in this whole thing, I would have preferred that before that guy gets put in the back of the car, that we know exactly where that gun is. That bothered me a little bit. Like, I want to make sure that gun is secured and, made safe or whatever. Other than that, I think he did a fantastic job. It is a great example of changing gears quickly, going, okay, this is what I'm actually dealing with. Recognize, as Stephanie likes to say, radically accepting reality. Okay, this is what's happening, and I need to now change gears and deal with that instead. He did a fantastic job. And we say calm is a superpower. We say that for a reason, because it's true. Being able to maintain calm in a situation like this is not a natural thing. You have to develop it over time. And clearly this is not his first rodeo, John.
Yeah. And so he takes the guy into custody. If you watch the extended version, he even goes up to the perpetrator, to the young man who shot and murdered a child. And he says, "Hey man, I'm not going to ask you a bunch of questions. The investigators are going to come and ask you a bunch of questions. Okay. So I'm not going to ask you that. I need a couple things, your name, your date of birth, these things, so that I've got all that." And then I'm going to call him a kid. He's like 22 years old. He says, is he going to make it? And the officer says, "Man, I've seen so many things. I've seen people make it who shouldn't have and don't who should. And I don't know. But if you're praying, man, I'd pray." And then he closed the door, and he didn't again. So he didn't yell at him. He didn't get crazy with him. And I just thought, man, he respected that guy's constitutional rights. I'm not going to ask you a bunch of questions. He passed that out. He empathized with the man. Even what we saw in the clip, told that the witness who was kind of griping at him, he's like, whoa, calm down, buddy. This guy is clearly distressed right now. So just chill a little bit. He's clearly in a troubled spot. And that's an empathy that I think more of us need.
Yeah, I want to add one more thing. This is a good example of why we need to get rid of the audio buffer on badge cams. That guy immediately, and the legal people can expound on this a little bit more, immediately makes spontaneous utterances about his guilt. And, I did this, I did that, which Stephanie and Carrie will talk more about later, I'm sure, from that perspective. But if there had been no audio, what might have happened? What might have we missed as far as evidence goes? So just my plug that maybe the people who make the badge cams should consider some other way, like maybe an auto delete. If we find there's nothing of evidentiary value, we can delete that in case, in case the trooper or the deputy is talking smack about the sheriff or the chief or supervisor or whatever, doesn't want that made public. I think that's something we should probably take into consideration as well. But yeah,
I
great
totally
job.
agree.
I think honestly, we draw more bees with honey than vinegar, and it was a good example of that.
Yeah, we do have a couple of super chats. So the pickle DCAing donated $10 to the Flint Hills Foster Teen Camps tonight. Thank you for that. As Grandpa would say, road rage is just driving while angry, and maybe people are just more angry these days. I'm going to say road rage is not being able to deal with your anger. Anger is an emotion. Emotions are neither good or bad. Road rage is pouring your emotions out on somebody else and endangering them because you can't process your emotion. And this is senseless. I understand anger. And I always say, man, I lose my testimony when I get behind the wheel. And all of these fine folks who are on with us here can say, yeah, I've driven with John enough. He calls people, he questions their species and their parentage too often when he's driving. I get it. But I process my anger and I don't take it out in actions on people. And at the end of things, man, the biggest thing on both of these, on both persons' sides, is if they could go back to 5 seconds before and talk to themselves, would they change their behavior? Of course they would. And so, but we don't get that hindsight. We don't get to do that. We don't get a do-over. You only get to do it one time. So you got to talk to yourself ahead of time and say, we're not going to do this. And Neil, I want to bring you in and talk about this. And I don't want to blame, he's his stepdad, this young man stepdad who died. He's not at fault for that, right? Like, it's the other guy's responsibility. But he could have prevented this by simply not taking the bait and taking the invitation to the fight.
Oh, 100%. I think the thing is, you win every fight you don't get in. I mean, that's the old thing that, the old adage that all of our dads told us when we were kids. But, it's hard when you're in, you're in the moment and things escalate, either slowly or very rapidly. And it's really hard to grab that emotion and pull it back and say, hold on, I've got to process this internally in my own car without, flipping the bird to this guy or waving my gun at him or screaming or something along those lines. And ultimately, even if you are arguing with somebody over there, the person that chose to pull up a gun and pull the trigger is the one that's 100% at fault. That's taking it to another level of stupidity that is it's just insanity to me that somebody thinks that's an appropriate response to somebody that cut me off or swerved in front of me or is slowing me down. We all have places to go. And I always get frustrated when somebody's going 10 under, especially in the fast lane, because the fast lane is for crimes. And that's what I want to be doing over there. When you're going 10 under there, yeah, that's really frustrating. But, am I going to risk the rest of my freedom, the rest of my life, out here, the time with my wife, my family, my kids, my grandkids over something like that? It's just, I just really struggle to see how somebody can make that jump to, what, this guy really needs to pay. And I need to prove to him my manhood or womanhood, whatever the case may be. In this case, it's his manhood. Do I have to prove that with lead? It's mind-boggling to me.
Yeah. And listen, we're Second Amendment absolutists at Active Self-Protection. I believe in the right to keep and bear arms.
Yep.
I live in a constitutional carry state. In fact, all of us but Carrie live in constitutional carry states. Carrie lives in the People's Republic of Washington. And I'm down. Like, it's a right, and an enumerated right shouldn't be licensed, but we are responsible. And to say, I'm going to pull a gun here and teach this guy a lesson. Here's the thing for me. Is he going to learn the lesson? Is that going to do something? It's not going to do anything. And I'm mind boggled that we get to these kinds of places because there's so many off ramps here to just, okay, man, come on in, whatever. Have a nice day.
Well, yeah, John. But what's the cost of teaching that lesson? We travel all over the country and teach lessons. You teach lessons every day on YouTube, that kind of thing. There is a cost associated to teaching those lessons. And that's typically our time. But in this case, or our travel or whatever, in this case, the cost of teaching this guy's lesson is this young man's freedom for the rest of his life. Probably. I don't know if he'll get life, but he's going to lose everything he owns. He's going to lose everything that he holds dear, and a significant amount of his time that he's going to spend behind bars for that. That's the cost to teach that lesson.
And again, the guy's not going to learn the lesson. Do you think the guy's going to be like, man, I need to control my anger anymore? I doubt it.
Yep.
You know, he's just going to learn instead. Oh, I get to, this cost me everything, so I'm going to carry that burden for the rest of my life. And again, same thing. That guy, okay, I'm going to teach this guy what for by going up and flipping him off and cursing him out in Spanish and in English. And for what? What did that cost him? That lesson cost him his stepson. It cost him somebody he kissed goodnight every night. It's just mind-boggling how stupid that is. Okay, I'm gonna pivot a little bit. Let's say hi to a couple of new members. Talos Valcorin, the 8th, became a YouTube member. Thank you so much and welcome. Imagined Mountains 2311 gave $2 and asked, would you guys cover wildlife defensive use of force vids? If you have them, by all means, send them to us. You're more than welcome to send them to us. We do some animal attack videos. I'd be interested in seeing that. I mean, I'm not really worried about getting eaten by a tiger where I am, but we do have coyotes here. So anything you find, by all means, email to us, videos@activeselfprotection.com, and we will take a look. And we would love to. Yeah.
We actually had a guy on the podcast from upstate Arizona, from Flagstaff, who had him and his dogs were in the woods, had a little run-in with a black bear, and that was a fun story. Check that one out. I just want to add something really quick. I think it's really important that we acknowledge, I think it's probably more men than women, that we acknowledge that all of us at some point have been really tempted when someone does something stupid and dangerous on the road where they almost run you off the road or whatever, that there's a switch that gets flipped, and unflipping that isn't always the easiest thing to do. And I think if we don't acknowledge that, we do ourselves a disservice. I say that for this reason. As I always say in the LE videos, if you're a cop and you're doing something and it's not working, or it seems like a bad idea, don't let your pride get in the way. As John says, your ego is not your amigo. You need to recognize this is stupid. I need to stop what I'm doing and do something different. I just wanted to make that point, John. Sorry.
100%. We had a comment in the app, Kenneth Fields, and man, I'm going to tell you, if you want up-leveled conversation, the ASP Unlimited app is where it is. The commenters there are really top flight. Kenneth Fields says these conflicts are like card games, but you don't know what the bet is until the hand is done. Ooh, that's insightful. That's a very, very insightful comment, Kenneth. Thank you. You're right. It's whatever hand I'm holding here. I don't know what the bet could be my life, and or the rest of my life. And at the very least, let's just say the facts were a little different, and this young man could have some justification for what he did. Then he's still going to bet. I'm going to put $250,000 in the pot. I'm going to put $250,000 in there because that's what it's going to cost me, which is unbelievable. We did have, and Andrea said the app is where the cool people are. I mean, I'm just going to not disagree with you, Andrea. Yes, very good. We did have some more super chats on YouTube. Lance J. Lucas gave $10 to the Flint Hills Foster Teen Camp. Lance, thank you so much for loving the foster teens and for supporting them. Again, if you super chat tonight, every penny given goes to the Flint Hills Foster Teen Camps as a Thanksgiving gift to them to help abused and abandoned foster teens. You guys know that's our primary kind of big charitable partner. That every dime goes to help those foster kids, man. There's nobody skimming money off the top of it. So, all right, I'm gonna move a little bit, and I want to talk just a little bit to Carrie Dudenhofer, our resident monster of discovery, because Carrie digs through discovery like a crackhead getting to the crack house. She is all over it. And Carrie, there's like an hour of badge cams worth of redacted stuff here. But, I saw watching the videos, there's probably 24 cops there. Everybody's turning their badge cams on. There's going to be witness statements for days. How do you wade through all this to determine what happened?
That's a great question. I think the first thing that I try to remember is I have to put on a different hat when I start looking at this. I can't put on my Carrie Dudenhofer, mom of 7, that loves kids fearlessly and will do anything to protect them hat. I need to put on a hat that's a hat that I can objectively look at things during the time I'm wearing that hat. So for me, evaluating discovery is all about making sure I'm in a space mentally where I can objectively evaluate these things and not jump to conclusions or make assumptions. And so when I get discovery, I like to start with the investigation or the I call it the interrogation. Usually it's a video where the client is sitting in a room and they're being asked questions by law enforcement. I like to start with that. I like to hear their side of the story first so I can understand their perceptions and uh, thoughts about what was going on in the moment. So that's how I typically wade through it. This particular case, there's no full discovery right now. It's a brand new case. It just happened. And so things are beginning to pour in. But for me, there were a couple things in the initial video that I paid a little bit of attention to, and this doesn't mean anything out unless there's more information that's added to it. But one of the things, the first officer that responded, the fellow that was just going to go on his way and then decided that he probably should stop, he said that he asked one of the witnesses, would you be willing to have the stepfather, would you be willing to sit in your car with the stepfather, basically? And the witness said, no, his quote was, I don't want him in my car. And that kind of made me pause for a minute. Well, wait a minute. Why doesn't this witness want the stepfather who just lost his stepson in his car? That just makes me think a little bit about what might be going on. So, and then there was an exchange between the stepfather was really upset that the witness said that, and there were some expletives said. And so now emotions run high in situations like this, right? So those are things that I initially look at. I do look at all of it. I do watch every hour of or minute or second of badge cam video that were sent. And sometimes in cases like this, you're talking probably, I'm just going to make a quick guess, but I would say probably 10 to 12 hours of just badge cam video of the initial scene, of gathering the evidence, towing the vehicles to the yard, going through, even just taping the door shut, just all that collection, just that initial, that's a lot of stuff to wade through. But there's some information in there that can come out that can be really helpful to you as you're beginning to evaluate the case.
Yeah.
And
Steph,
yeah,
we have a case. Stephanie and I are working right now with 83 witness interviews on badge cam.
It's a lot. The summary of the case, there's just files. The first file is a summary of the case. That is 392 pages. The summary of the case. So yeah, again, it was dozens of officers on scene, dozens of witnesses. It happened at a party. It's just, overwhelming to go over. It really is. And you have to really comb through it because you don't know what's going to be important. And, most of the time when we're interacting with the use of force as just someone watching YouTube or whatever, we're being told what has happened. But when you're going through discovery, you don't really know what has happened. So like on the video, the raw video, the 17-minute video that John put together, it's difficult to hear. The wind makes the recording difficult to hear exactly what people are saying. It's difficult to see what's happening. Of course, they would have the non-blurred out, non-redacted videos. But even besides that, what the officer's looking at is not what the badge cam is always getting. So sometimes it's a little confusing. So it can take a very long time just to even understand what happened. And I think that would be shocking to most people to know how confusing it really is.
Well, and Carrie, what you said, the guy in the orange vest is like, no, I don't want that guy in my car, because it sounds to me like what he saw was the stepdad pit the other guy. And so he thinks this guy is the problem. This guy's the aggressor. He is the one who should be in trouble. When after the shooting, the other guy tries to speed off. So then the guy catches him and hits him to get him to stop. And so there's this, I think that's interesting, Steph. There's all these different perspectives. What do you think happened here? Because the witnesses are like, I just saw road raging and a car wreck. and so, I think there's that interesting thing, Stephanie, that human memory, and then especially right now, immediately after it happens, is we tend to think of it as a static thing, but that's not how human memory works.
No, it's almost a little bit scary when you understand how memory really does work and how fallible it really is. In fact, in the news articles preparing for this tonight, they talked about the different witnesses having kind of a general story about what happened that agreed, but they weren't in perfect sync. And in fact, if you find all your witnesses and all their stories line up perfectly, that should probably be a clue to you that there's some collusion and there's some lying there, because the way perception works, the way vision works, the way memory works, it's not shocking to me at all that people did not realize there was a shooting, didn't know who the good or bad guy was, if there even was one, and didn't know what happened. We tend to forget when we're watching something with 2020 hindsight how foggy and messy it is when you first show up on the scene and are part of what is happening. And so that can be difficult to remember when we're trying to evaluate use of force.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mike.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to say, if you don't think human memory is fallible, just know that John will say, Mike, this video is coming from Denver, Colorado. He hits record, and 5 seconds later, I'm like, where is it from? It's seriously, literally that bad. I'm a goldfish. I just wanted to, could I play defense attorney for 1 second? I've never been an attorney, but here's what I'm thinking. That defense attorney,
I think your morals are too high for that, Mike. I don't know that you can play
that. Sorry, defense attorney friends. Sorry, Tim. No, I was going to say, I'm willing to bet there's some. Everyone has a dash cam these days. Regular people. I promise you, a bunch of people will be sending dash cam video to the news or to the police or wherever, and that's going to start filtering in. And I think if it looks like the father of the slain child was being overly aggressive, if I'm the defense attorney, I'm like, my client was afraid he was going to run him off the road or kill him, so he fired into the back window to try to get him to stop doing what he's doing. He didn't intend to do anything. That would be my guess as to how this is probably going to go. But again, I'm not an attorney.
Oh, 100%. I mean, you hire an attorney, their job is to defend their client. And so he's going to try to make a case that his client was at fear. But let's take that back to Carrie, Mrs. Use of Force expert. How easy is it to make that case while you are in your 4,000-pound vehicle driving down the road, and they're in their 4,000-pound vehicle driving down the road, and they're just insulting you?
That's incredibly tough. I've had a case very similar to that. And I thought when I received discovery, when I was hired for the case, I thought there's no reason why these people would hire me if it was one of my first cases, if it isn't a justified use of force in the attorney's opinion. And I went through all discovery, and Miss Steph and I went through all of it together, and we're like, where is the stuff here that shows that this is justified? Because at any point, the defender could have stopped their vehicle and pulled over to the side, and they chose not to. So yeah, it's tough. And the road rage thing is tough.
There's the preclusion issue, right? You're precluded from this because you voluntarily took part in the use of force.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
You voluntarily took part of the fight. You could have just peeled off. You could have just taken an exit. You could have chosen not to, but you got in the road rage too. So let's go back through some comments real quick. I'm going to get two from the app. Andrea, speaking about the case that Stephanie and I are working right now, she says, you just about need a summary of the summary. That's exactly true. Like, you need a summary of the dang summary. And Kenneth Fields asked, what's the cost of going through that much discovery? I'ma hurt some feels. Because, of course, who's going through it? Well, the attorneys are going through it first. And so the attorney's billable hours are going to get billed to go through all that discovery and see what they find. And so your typical decent attorney, I mean, a good attorney right now is about $500 an hour. Is that what you're seeing, Carrie, Steph?
Yeah.
For a good one,
Yep.
you can get a cheaper one,
Absolutely.
but
Yep.
you don't want to go through, you don't want a cheaper one. So about $500 an hour. If they engage an expert witness, I mean, it just depends. I tell them all the time, it depends on how much there is. Right now, the case that Stephanie and I are looking through, we are at 30 hours of billable time just watching badge cams and reading discovery. We haven't even given a freaking opinion yet. I mean, I've talked to the lawyer and been like, I think that this is what I think my opinion is going to be because I don't see this here. But we might find something else in discovery, so I'll let you know. 30 hours in discovery, and I'm not shy about it. My billable rate's $550 an hour. So do that math. It's $16,500 just to look through discovery, let alone if we end up writing a report up. Writing a report with that much discovery is going to take another 15 hours, 20 hours of work. What do you think,
You typically
Carrie?
you typically have attorneys that encourage you. Same here, and Miss Steph has the same thing where they're like, you need to raise your rates, which is mind blowing to think of.
Yeah.
For me personally, but yeah, it's how many hours would it take to write a report like that? I know how many hours I have into my first report, and it was upwards of 200 hours, and I stopped keeping track of my hours for about 2 months of that time because I thought no one's ever going to pay me for this. Who in their right mind would pay me for this? But yeah,
Here's
it's
where
incredible
everybody in the
at time.
comments says, Carrie, you're worth what you're doing, and you are a legitimate national level expert, and you need to raise your rates and bill those hours. All right, let's talk. We had a couple more super chats. The King's Dirty Man just gave $20. Thank you. Again, everything given tonight goes to the Flint Hills Foster Teen Camps, right? We're not keeping anything at ASP. So thank you so much for that. Jeremy 5594 gave $20 as well and said, love what you guys do. Everyone should watch your channel. Thanks for that. We're just trying to educate and help. And NB Medic gave $100 to the Flint Hills Foster Teen Camp for those foster kids and says, I'm doing my part. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. That is very, very kind of you. Incredible for that. I look at some of this stuff and I want to go back to Steph just a minute and talk about this excited utterance. Because he just walks up to the cop and says, I shot the guy.
Yeah.
But what? Why would you do that?
Because you're adrenalized and you're caught up in the moment, and probably in every other thing that he does, he feels like he is a good and decent person and is trying to take responsibility for what he did. And I guess are my assumptions on why he did that. But here's the problem. And while what we're not trying to do is like give people advice to avoid the consequences of their actions and choices. A lot of times people that are really legitimate, innocent self-defenders have these excited utterances that they end up being really difficult to understand, because while what they're saying is true, like somebody broke into my house, I shot that guy. I could say the same thing. I shot that guy. And the context makes it different, but sometimes the words they choose, they don't know that they have a particular legal meaning, or the words that they choose might be important to the statutes or codes that we're talking about, because they're just talking in regular layman's language. And, we'll hear stuff like this and just, yeah, don't say stuff like that. When he admitted that it was completely his fault, he admitted that he shot that man, all of that stuff will come up. And if there's a civil suit later, and there likely will be, I'm 100% at fault is going to be really important to that civil suit, would be my guess. And I get it. All of you watching, I assume, are good people, and the law enforcement are your friends. They're on your team, so you want to share with them and help them. This is what happened. The problem is you don't have the perspective or the margin to do that right after a defensive encounter, and you will very likely make bad choices without intending to, without being a bad person. It's really hard to overestimate how important it is to say as little as possible. And just as a side note, we saw this, the stepfather had his phone out. He was clearly talking to someone on the phone. Carrie and I have had multiple cases where the defender has made phone calls at the scene and taken phone calls in their interviews. All that, the cops will just sit absolutely quietly while that is happening. They'll let you take as long as you want on your phone call as you tell the story to your loved ones of what happened, and they're not asking you any questions or having any Miranda issues. So again, be very cautious with the cell phone.
Badge cam recording.
Yes. Yeah. It's all recorded. And so that's generally how we've gotten a good narrative from the defendant of what happened, has been as they tell their loved ones what happened. And they feel like I didn't do anything wrong. And in the two cases I'm thinking of, they didn't. However, I just about cried when I saw that they were going to do this phone call right on the badge cam. So just think about that. You're going to want to reach out to your loved ones. You're going to want to let people know your side of the story. It is so dangerous. So it can be very, very difficult. One wrong word can be a real challenge.
We had a case that we talked about on the Active Cell Protection Extra channel in John's Briefs that I was involved in as an expert witness, the Arizona versus Elliott. And he got arrested. They sat him down. Okay, tell me what's happening. And I'm going, don't, shut up, just shut up, just shut up, just shut up. And the detective for 30 minutes, just ran this guy through a buzzsaw trying to get him to admit to a crime. And thank God he didn't. We ended up going all the way to trial, and he was acquitted at trial. But man, what a big thing. A question from Mr. Comments 3811. He gave $10. Thank you again for the donation to the Flint Hills Foster Teen Camps. ASP team, given the apparent rise of road rage incidents over the years, what are your opinions on what the best solution or cure for road rage? It's emotional fitness. The cure for road rage is to be in control of yourself. And I don't say this flippantly at all. The best way to do that, if you're struggling with it, is therapy. I'm not joking. I'm not giving you a hard time. Therapy. If that's too hard, start with good books. Okay. So a great book called The Confidence Gap, which is really acceptance and commitment therapy, which is how to identify your emotions, own them, and act in positive ways with them, is a great starter for that. But I just can't say enough, man. I think so many people need to be in touch with their ability to process emotions better. And I think that's cops too, Mike. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the cop of this situation did a fantastic job as far as maintaining his emotional and spiritual fitness are probably in pretty good shape. I wanted to circle back to something Steph was talking about. There's 100 times I was in an interview room with somebody who's looking at 72 months federal time, and they're like, "Can I call so and so?" And I'm like, "Yeah, just throw it on speaker." It's all being recorded. I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely. Just sit back." And half the time they would speak Spanish, like, "Oh, he'll never understand what I'm saying in Spanish," and thinking they're getting away with something. It's really unbelievable. I do also want to commend, I think you might have mentioned this, John, the LVMPD officer on understanding spontaneous utterances and he didn't then go, "Oh, really?" or go on or or say anything that could have thrown that out later in court, which at least I don't think he did. I'm sure our two esteemed experts to my left and right will maybe correct me on that. Maybe he did, but
I'm losing Mike. We're losing his intertubes. You came back.
Okay. Yeah, the ability to, when someone is digging a hole for themselves, to shut up and let them dig is a gift. It takes a little experience to be able to, on the law enforcement side, to be able to go, "I'm just going to be quiet and let them talk. This is all being recorded. Anything I say is probably not great. I'm just going to shut up and let the guy dig a hole."
Yeah, really incredible what that will do. And so I just think, again, shut up, right? Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law, but not for you necessarily. Steph?
I wanted to add to kind of what can you do with that. I have not had time to locate these studies myself, but I was reading a book the other day that talked about the idea of revenge and people wanting to get revenge and punish others for some perceived wrong lights up the same centers in the brain as active addiction, and even more powerfully than some fairly addictive drugs. So, and that was from a criminal forensic psychologist. So I just thought that was very, very interesting and might have some kind of insight into why people just get so driven to do kind of these really, in hindsight, and even as we're watching, we're like, this is so foolish. But if you look at it kind of through the lens of somebody dealing with those same centers lighting up and the impulse control gone and being out of control, it may make it slightly more understandable. That said, I think maybe that would be even more reason to try to find a way to get that under control and try to find that emotional fitness, whatever works for you, because as Kenneth said, you don't know what the bet's going to be at any time you're engaging in behavior like this.
Anger is the devil's cocaine, as I heard someone say one time.
No kidding. All right, we've got a couple more. Again, the amateur AN-94, thoughts on the National Guard incident in DC. I saw the barest of things. It looks to me to be a terrible thing, but I don't have any details or any pertinent or salient information to form an opinion on. And so I'd hesitate to form an opinion. I do want to talk briefly. We're almost out of time, right? We got a hard out here at the top of the hour, and I want to respect that for everybody. Neil, I want to talk to you about this. You're kind of our head firearms instructor, right? You're the guy that goes and teaches all the live classes. And one of the things that we like to talk about in class, in live fire classes, is my mindset when I put a gun on. And if I have access to a firearm. So can you talk us through that a little bit and how that failed us here?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we talk about it all the time, in a lot of our classes this last year and next year are all focused on making decisions with guns. And I think the very first decision that we've got to make is if we're going to carry a gun, can we control our emotions to not do something stupid that's going to cost us, everything for the rest of our lives or a significant amount of time behind bars. And so I think what failed here is that our young man that, he put on that gun, potentially not to defend himself, but to teach other people lessons. And so if we can back up to the part every morning when I put my gun on, it comes out of the safe, I check the dot, I check everything and make sure that I'm all good. I put that gun on and then I have to make that decision of, hey, today I don't get to be an asshole. Today, when somebody's rude to me, they get to be rude to me. The only time that gun is going to come out of the holster today is if my life or the life of a loved one depends on it. And that's a mantra that I go through every single time that gun gets put on my waist. And so if we can do that, and maybe I go a little bit to the extreme, but I've got a special needs son that needs me around for the absolute longest that I can possibly be here. So I'm not going to go do something dumb with my life. So I have to take this stuff very seriously. And I would venture a guess that the vast majority of the people that are watching tonight have something valuable to them in their life that they don't need to go risk their freedom or their livelihood on. So when we put that thing on, we have to make a decision every single time that's to our and make the statement. Maybe it's out loud, maybe it's not, maybe it's just to yourself, but you have to make that commitment that I am going to do it right today. And I don't have with this gun on, I don't have the right to go out and act a fool. Because if I do, then I'm going to put myself in a bad position where ultimately I may have to pull that gun when I wouldn't have had to if I made better decisions or different decisions. Once in a while when I'm driving in traffic, I will look over and realize that, maybe I am the guy going a little bit too slow in the fast lane. And I move over, I give the wave. Hey, I'm sorry. That was my bad. You're right. I'm the jerk in this case. I messed that up and that was my fault. We have to be able to have the emotional stability to be able to be wrong once in a while without having to immediately go to guns or even escalate through more words or more hand gestures or all of that kind of stuff. But as somebody that puts a gun on every single day, I have to make that decision that the only chance that this is going to get used today is one, maybe I'm making a video, maybe I'm teaching a class or whatever, but it's not going to be used as a tool for anything other than to teach a lesson in a class or to defend life, if I'm out of the class. And I think that's where people really need to focus and start. And if you make the decision to carry a gun, I 100% support it. I'm all about people carrying guns. My favorite people at classes are the ones that, hey, this is my first class. I just bought this gun and I just bought this holster and I don't know how to use it. I love those. And I'm all about supporting that. But the biggest thing is make that decision before you walk out the door that, hey, I don't get to be an asshole today.
Amen.
My right to that is gone because there's just too much at risk.
Yeah. Bean, Chris Bean, he sent me a text that he's listening. He can't be on the live tonight. He said a firearm is for the protection of life, not the extension of ego. And I think so many of us, unfortunately, we see incidents like this, that he just used it to extend his ego. He just used it to say, you can't do that to me, so I'm going to make you pay for it by putting a bullet in your car. And he ruined the rest of his life because he's going to be dodging unwanted butt sex for probably the rest of his life. It wouldn't surprise me if this guy goes up for murder one and is in prison for decades. The stepdad, now he has to live with, man, my road rage contributed to the death of my beloved child. And so both these families' lives are forever changed. Okay. And I can tell you, to your point, Neil, I know we're out of time, so I'm gonna cut us here. But I not too many years ago, maybe 5 years ago, I had a guy road rage on me. He got all pissed off because I got into his lane. Now I had plenty of space, like I was like 4 car lengths in front of him, but it pissed him off because it kept him from speeding through and doing some other stuff. I wasn't thinking about that. I just wanted that lane for the moment on a busy road. And he got up and he got all pissed off. And I remember looking over at him and thinking, dude, you actually picked the very best guy to get all pissed off at, because I'm probably the last dude who's going to want to get in a fist fight with you today. Now, don't get me wrong. I had my gun on me. I had my OC spray on me. I have 20 years of martial arts experience. I probably could have beat that dude like a rented donkey if he decided he wanted to get after it. But I was like, you picked the right guy. And I'm not going to get in it because I don't want to make the national news. And it's not going to matter in 5 minutes. In 5 minutes, this is all going to be over. He'll get over and go on his day, and maybe not go home and kick his dog because he was able to blow it up on me instead, and maybe he'll calm down. Well, guys, please, just last bits. Two last things. Andrea gave 2 great comments. Number one, I do worry about the cop in this video too. He's seen this now and needs some support as well. Yes, everybody who saw what happened here is going to need significant support. And she said again, as I've said before, a gun weighs about as much as a couple of water bottles. It also weighs my life, my family's lives, and attacker's life. Be ready to shoulder that weight. Wow. What a great reminder. So my reminder to all of us is that this Thanksgiving weekend, gun on, ego off. And even if you don't carry a gun, you're driving between states and it's not good for you to carry there, whatever the case may be, ego off. Be a good, sane, sober, moral, prudent person. Avoid road rage like the rest of your life depends on it, because it very well may. So we are out of time. Thank you, Neil, so much. Thank you, Stephanie, so much. Mike, Carrie, you're one of your first times on the big channel. Thank you so much for being here. And God bless you, everyone. A very happy Thanksgiving. Thank you again to everybody who donated to the Super Chat to the Flint Hills Foster Teen Camp. You guys really make life better for kids who need the help. And we appreciate you all. Happy Thanksgiving and God bless.